Hi, it's Iyada, Vedic astrologer. Welcome back to my channel. The solar eclipse on March 29th falls over Greenland and then moves over the Arctic up to the North Pole. In Europe, we will see the eclipse at noon from 11:15 a.m. to 12:45 p.m. Central European Time. And on the other side of the Atlantic, from Washington up to Canada, the eclipse can be seen around 6 p.m. local time. The new moon, placed perfectly between Earth and Sun, blocks the sunlight, so that only a small portion of the sun will remain visible. In eclipses, one of the lunar nodes is always involved. That is, one of the 2 points where the orbit of the moon and the orbit of the sun around Earth intersect, so that the 2 luminaries for us on Earth are not only in line one behind the other, but also at exactly the same level. This eclipse falls at 14 degrees 48 minutes of sidereal Pisces. And what makes it so extraordinary is that not only Rahu, the lunar north node, the sun and the new moon are in Pisces, but also Venus, Mercury and Neptune, the modern ruler of Pisces in Western astrology. That is, there are a total of 6 celestial bodies in the sign of the eclipse. And only 6 hours after the eclipse, Saturn also will enter sidereal Pisces, where the planet of time and karma will remain until June 2027. It takes Saturn almost 3 years to move from one sign to the next, and every time Saturn changes signs, it is a decisive moment in time, even more so when it coincides with an eclipse. The last time this happened was at the end of 2019, when we had a solar eclipse in sidereal Sagittarius at Christmas, also with 6 planets in the sign of the eclipse. Saturn, who was one of these 6 planets, then moved from Sagittarius to sidereal Capricorn, less than 4 weeks after the eclipse, and that announced the COVID pandemic, which kept us on tenterhooks for 2 or 3 years and had a profound impact on humankind. At that time, Saturn went from Sagittarius, a sign ruled by Jupiter, to its own sign of Capricorn. This time, Saturn leaves its own sign of Aquarius and enters Pisces, that is the other sign ruled by Jupiter. Every time Saturn and Jupiter come together in this way, or are in conjunction, it heralds a kind of new stage of phase in the process of transition and evolution that we are all in. Interestingly, Jupiter and Saturn also co-rule this solar eclipse. Jupiter as the traditional ruler of Pisces and Saturn as ruler of the constellation of Uttara Bhadrapada, in which the eclipse falls in the sky, known in the West, by the way, as stars of the constellation of Andromeda. Many of us perceive this process of change in the world, of dissolution and chaos, from which something new wants to be born, like a tremendous whirlwind that gets increasingly faster and more intense. And this eclipse is going to intensify and speed things even more up. If we look at the eclipse map, we see that all the planets in Pisces are in opposition to the sign of Virgo, where Ketu, the lunar south node, sits completely alone. Mars in sidereal Gemini squares Ketu and the eclipse. And Jupiter, who sits together with Uranus in sidereal Taurus, forms with Pluto in Capricorn on one hand, and on the other hand with Ketu in Virgo, a grand trine in the three earth signs, where change is always difficult. Earth usually fears and resists change, and therefore transformation sometimes needs to come in cathartic ways. We see that absolutely all the planets look at Ketu 6 hours after the eclipse, when Saturn is also in sidereal Pisces, be it in opposition, square, or trine. In other words, all eyes are on Ketu, and Ketu will act accordingly to the pressure that he receives. Ketu is a shadow planet, the headless body of a demon in Vedic astrology. That is our conditioning that has no logical reason to be. It stems from our reptilian brain, and therefore Ketu is also a very instinctive and intuitive planet. His desire to outgrow all that what holds him back is so great that Ketu may blow and shatter everything in order to experience the expansion he longs for. This can manifest in the world with Ketu in Virgo in the constellation of Uttara Falguni in many different ways, as a major natural disaster, as a new disease or epidemic, as a large-scale terrorist attack, as the breaking of alliances and a new war in the world. Whatever it is, it will have a similar dimension and impact to what the COVID pandemic meant for us. It is, of course, useless to point the finger at politicians or other incompetent and narcissistic people who try to become strong and stay in power by manipulation, by threatening, punishing, or frightening people. Instead, we need to recognize in ourselves where we are short-sighted, selfish, or reactive, where we make decisions motivated by fear and make ourselves smaller or to compensate bigger than we are, and where we lock ourselves in our particularly ivory tower perhaps, where we starve our heart and our soul by longing always for something more perfect or more beautiful, instead of going out into the world and contributing through the beauty of our very own self to a more beautiful and better world. Ketu and this solar eclipse will break any ivory tower, personal refuge, or seemingly safe haven in which we may have cloistered ourselves. The 7 planets in sidereal Pisces, with the solar eclipse falling in the fiery constellation of Uttara Bhadrapada, show that a powerful force is not only awakening, but moving. It wants to rise and change our world. Ahirbudnya is the deity who rules Uttarabhadrapada and this eclipse. And Ahirbudnya is the huge cosmic serpent that lies coiled at the bottom of the ocean of consciousness and at the base of all creation. And on this snake, that is the Kundalini power of the quantic field in which our universe exists, lies Vishnu, the Vedic god, who together with his Shakti, goddess Lakshmi, sustains our universe, that is, keeps it alive, functioning and flourishing. Both are dedicated to keeping everything in balance. But humankind is meant to acknowledge and work together with these forces, which most people neither know nor do. And therefore, the balance in our world is so disturbed between the human and the divine, between the masculine and the feminine, as well as the entire ecological and economic balance, that everything is becoming more and more unstable. If we want to return to balance and create a new harmony on earth, we must change and recognize again what is sacred. We need to develop again lasting ethical values and establish a direct and living connection with the divine, with the quantum field of light and consciousness, with the powers of the cosmos, as all ancient civilizations did. And we must cultivate this connection with nature as well. Furthermore, we need to foster again healthy masculine qualities, such as leadership, stability, protection, structure, and organization, as well as appreciate and integrate the qualities of the feminine energy into our lives, because it nourishes us, inspires us, and warms our hearts. It is our intuition, our fertility, creativity, and all the beauty and fulfillment we can experience. How far is the world, and are we willing to integrate change in this direction? Venus and Mercury are retrograde in Pisces, and due to their proximity to the Sun also combust. This means that we will experience the pressure and the consequences of the eclipse in our relationships as well as in our prosperity. That means, of course, money and wealth, but also how satisfied, how fulfilled we do feel or not. Seen from Ketu in sidereal Virgo, this eclipse will open new and old wounds, because the world and humankind need healing and reconciliation. What is not in tune with the evolutionary needs of our soul must dissolve, and what imprisons our true self needs to break. Seen from the planets in sidereal Pisces, Ketu shatters what is restrictive, because consciousness yearns for expansion, for evolution, for higher dimensions of light and love in the world and in every one of us. That opens us up for mystical experiences, for flowing inspiration and fertile creativity, as well as for deep love, especially if we flow with the cosmic currents and do the necessary inner work to free ourselves from what is restrictive in our psyche and behavior, and embrace the expansion of consciousness. With Mercury retrograde, combust, and debilitated in Pisces, our logical mind will not work properly. It is not a matter of wanting to understand or rationalize what is happening to us. Instead, we need to flow guided by our heart, our intuition, and synchronicities. A very appropriate mantra for this critical time is Sita Ram Jai Jai Ram. Sita Ram Jai Jai Ram. Sita Ram Jai Jai Ram. You can easily find it on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Music, and we can sing it over and over again. It is a beautiful combination of Rama, the avatar of the sun, and Sita, a daughter of the earth goddess Bhumi, in which heaven and earth, men and women come together in true harmony. Many blessings for the intense time frame around this exceptional solar eclipse, the effect of which will last for months and even up to 2 years. I won't be doing full moon or new moon videos in April, but we will see or hear each other again in May, when both Jupiter and the lunar nodes will switch signs. Until then, Namaste.